It is the 21st of January 2020. Hello, my name is Julie Malcolm. Thank you for having listened to my recordings thus far. For those of you who have not yet gotten a chance to listen, or you may have missed a recording, you may find me on YouTube at Share Julie's Story. That is, find me on YouTube at Share Julie's Story, and I invite you to do just that. Share Julie's story. Now, as promised, this recording concerns the nature of my forensic linguistics research. I continue to be a student at the University of the West Indies. I continue to engage in my research, though the head of Department of Language, Linguistics and Philosophy in the Faculty of Humanities and Education at the University of the West Indies in Mona St. Andrew, Jamaica, has decided that she will not appoint me a supervisor. Yes, you heard me correctly. The University of the West Indies has decided not to appoint me a supervisor, while still standing by their policy that I cannot move forward without a supervisor. No, I do not understand how legal this can be, that a university can admit a student to a particular research program and have the student there for years and decide out of the blue that they will not appoint a supervisor. But having a supervisor is a part of their policies, and without the supervisor you cannot continue. And this is the same head of department whose research I was a part of when I accepted the university's offer to for a departmental award that allowed me to engage in my research full-time instead of part-time. She's in charge of the communication across the curriculum program. I was allowed to work with that program as a result of receiving the departmental award, and that is what I've been working on now. How is it that I can be working on the research for the head of department while I am a student, and this head of department has the power through her chair to source and recommend for appointment a supervisor for my personal research, the sole purpose why I'm at the university, and this HOD has decided not to do so? Then you can understand to a greater degree why I have withdrawn from the departmental award, and as of September 2019 I decided not to accept it, not to any longer work on a research that was not mine, while my research suffered at the hands of the very person who is in charge of the research that I was engaged in as payment for being allowed the opportunity to study full-time at the university. Anyway, I will engage you now in my research as promised. So the title of my research is an investigation into the language attitudes of the Jamaica Constabulary Force regarding the use of Jamaican Creole versus English in the statement-taking interview process. The two research questions that are guiding my research are: what is the language attitude of the Jamaica Constabulary Force regarding the use of Jamaican Creole versus English in the statement-taking interview process? And how does the language attitude of the Jamaica Constabulary Force impact said statement-taking interview process? Now on to my data. My data, of course, is a simulation exercise concerning the statement-taking interview. For privacy reasons, I was not allowed to use actual transcripts from statement-taking interview sessions, so I had to create my own. In creating my own, I sought to address issues relating to societal problems that were in the news on a daily basis in late 2016, early 2017. One of the main issues that we had to contend with as a Jamaican society had to do with domestic disputes. Same thing happening in January 2020, right? But that was the main issue that concerned the the complaints that were lodged with the police officers who participated in the study. So police officers who varied in age, gender, years of experience, language competence, language performance, and national identity, um, were recruited along with average Jamaicans who were bilingual. Well, maybe if they're bilingual in Jamaican and English, I cannot really say they're average, because the average Jamaican doesn't know how to write Jamaican, whereas he or she may speak it fluently. So we used Jamaican police officers, in-service police officers, and we used regular Jamaican citizens, those who were bilingual in both Jamaican Creole and English. And we set up a simulation exercise where the officers had a chance to interview them on camera using both Jamaican and Creole and English alternately. Of course, we allowed them the opportunity to self-report. So we had self-reporting interviews prior to the statement-taking interview session and following each statement-taking interview session. That data was subjected to transcription. The transcriptions are subjected to analysis based on a series of questions that would shed light on important forensic linguistic issues. One of the main tool that was used in our transcription was the Kennedy's Weave. This tool was taken from the book What Jamaican Children Speak, that's written by Professor of Linguistics, Dr. Michelle Kennedy, and it allowed me to be able to describe the languages that were in operation based on their structural features and their superficiality as it was related to English or Jamaican. Now, this research raises particular concerns. The Jamaica Constabulary Force speaks English, is formally trained in English, is a part of the justice system which uses the de facto language English. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, however, serves a population of Jamaicans who predominantly speak Jamaican Creole, Patois. How is it that the Jamaica Constabulary Force, having not been trained in translation, is able to translate Jamaican to Creole? And that when you go to the station and you speak in Patois and the officer writes it in English for the purpose of the justice system, how are you sure that what you have said is equal to what was written? Yes, you may read it after it is written. Yes, you may even write it yourself. Yes, you may have it read to you after it is written. But how do you know that you have the competence to identify what you have said when it is expressed in English if you are not versed on English language? If you're a basilectal Jamaican Creole speaker, how do you know? Are you going to trust the police officer that he heard you and what he wrote is equivalent to what you have said? Or are you going to question it? And usually this wasn't something that would pop into my head. In fact, these issues started circulating in my mind during the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry. And you would recall the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry, it was commissioned by our Governor General to investigate the over 70 deaths that had occurred in Western Kingston during the joint police military incursion into Tivoli Gardens and its environs in May of 2010. During this inquiry, I noticed a particular witness. His name was Roy Gordon, I think. He was being interviewed by attorney at law Peter Champagne. At the time, I think Mr. Champagne was representing the Jamaica Constabulary Force. I might be mistaken, but you can check. And during Mr. Johnson's and Mr. Champagne's exchange, they began talking about a particular incident. Mr. Champagne was reading from Mr. Johnson's supposed statement when he said that Mr. Johnson was standing at a fence, peeping through the fence, and he saw a particular occurrence. Mr. Johnson interjected and said he was not at the fence, he was on his way to the fence. It was his intention to get to the fence, but he didn't quite reach. Me did go at the fence. Now, to the English language speaker, that would mean I was going to the fence. To the Jamaican speaker, it is me was a go at the fence, me been a go at the fence, me did a go at the fence, me been the go at the fence. So by saying me did go, he really meant I was on my way to go to the fence when I saw X and Y and Z. And truthfully speaking, his physical presence when he professed to have seen what he allegedly saw would have implications on what was actually seen. Yeah? Because being at the fence, peeping through the fence, would give him a better angle from which to speak about the occurrence that he saw. But being on his way to the fence would not be the same thing, would not equate to him seeing what he claimed to have seen. And so it was during this exchange that a light bulb, an explosion, if you will, went off in my mind, and I started thinking about this research in depth. Because initially I thought, like any well-thinking Jamaican, when the issue was being aired on TV, that is the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry, I had two options in my mind when the witnesses clashed with the attorneys. And those two positions were, one, either, because of course somebody must have tell lie. One, either the witness is now recanting because something has hit the fan, or the attorneys were making a mess of a messy situation and were siding with police officers who possibly have muddied the waters from or changed the statements. Because there were two options. If there are two individuals who are communicating and they do not agree on something that is written, the first thought is going to be that somebody must have tell a lie, or which one of them are tell a lie. And it wasn't until the summer of 2016 at an SEL conference, the Society for Caribbean Linguistics conference, that was being hosted at UMona, that a third option came to mind. I was sitting alone in the lunchroom, and I don't know if the food did taste extra good that day there, or my belly did over full, or me did I suffer from niggeritis. I'm not quite sure what it was, but a third option popped in my head. The giver of the statement would be using his best patois. The statement taker would be using his best English patois. English. What if something was lost in translation? What if something was said, what was said was understood a particular way and written a particular way, and by the end of uttering and documenting, what was documented did not equate to what was uttered? I wasn't there. I don't know. But a third option came on the scene for me, and I decided to explore it via this research. And of course, there is room to question this, because regardless of whether you believe what linguists say regarding what is a language and what is not a language, and Jamaican is not a language, it's a bastardization of English, regardless of what you believe, you will agree with me that when an utterance is made in Jamaican Creole, it sounds different, it is colored different, it gives a different feel than if it is said in English. And you know, see, I told me I talk, because when the foreigner them come a yard and decide like checked for talk in other language, Fiwi, Patois, we laugh, we laugh because sometimes really two sound like how we talk it, something wrong with it. And if we are able to speak to the correctness or the incorrectness of a Creole utterance by a non-Jamaican, it means that we know that there are rules governing Jamaican Creole speech. Now, if there are a separate set of rules for this language variety and another set of rules for that language variety, then clearly the two language varieties, whereas they are similar and they do influence each other, they are not one and the same. They are different. So Jamaican is different from English, and English is different from Jamaican, though they both borrow from each other from time to time in the speech of Jamaicans. And so if we're using two different codes, especially in the legal system, that can get so technical from time to time and has severe implications regarding the freedoms that we have as a people, then it is necessary to investigate to what extent our legal system is affected by the language attitudes of the very important players within the system, right? Additionally, when we talk about a cold case, for example, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, some kind of long time case, you were walking in New Kingston as a young lady and a gentleman approached you from behind. Well, if he did this, I'm not sure how gentle of a man he would be, but he approached you from behind and he said, "Hey girl, give me your bag." He grabbed your handbag and he sped away, and you gave your statement to the officer or to the statement taker. Would the statement taker write, "Hey girl, give me your bag," or "Hey girl, give me your bag"? Because 10, 20 years after the occurrence, one of your key tools to work with, or the main tool to work with, would be the statement and what is contained in the statement. You will begin with the statement, right? There's no court case without at least one statement. Now, if it is written, if the utterance of the culprit was written in English, the false assumption can be made that the speaker of that statement is Caucasian or belongs to any country that speaks English. But if it is written in Jamaican Creole, "Hey girl, give me your bag," you automatically know right away that the speaker is an authentic Jamaican speaker, or the speaker is able to produce Jamaican Creole utterances. You automatically reduce the suspect pool to not English, that is the worldwide lingua franca, but to a speaker of Jamaican Creole. And that is important for cold cases or old cases. A very important piece of document, the Constitution of Jamaica, also weighs in on my research, and it says in the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, the Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011, Section 16, subsection 6A, any individual who is charged with an offense must be informed of the nature of the charge the nature of the charge which is being brought against him in a language that he understands. And the police officers, through their handbook, their manual, the presser, if you will, are encouraged to use the language of the statement giver, actual utterances, direct speech. Now, if the charging of an individual must be done in a language that the individual understands, so the police must charge you in a language that you understand, why shouldn't the police have a conversation with you before he charges you also in a language that you understand? Because the question and answer session or the statement taking interview would precede the charge. So those two meetings would have implications on the actual charge, what the charges are and how and when you will be charged. So it therefore begs the question that shouldn't the statement taking interview or the question and answer session also be done in a language that you understand? And who determines the language that you understand if not you? So should the police officer take his cue or her cue from the language that you approach him speaking in and the language that you respond to him in to determine what language to use with you? Because this is not from a random book, this is from our Constitution. The Constitution speaks to a language that the person, the alleged offender, understands. Therefore, the statement taking interview could possibly be, because it precedes a charge, could possibly be also done in a language that is understandable in a fulsome way to the alleged offender or the complainant in this case. And so this research to me is very important because it has educational implications. How is it that our officers are trained? It has legal implications. To what extent would we receive linguistic freedom, linguistic justice within our court system? It's not a bashing of any particular arm of our government. It's not a bashing of the players within the various ministries and agencies of the justice system. It is for us to arrive at an understanding as to whether or not linguistic discrimination exists within the justice system, whether it is simply allowed or we don't understand that it is happening or it is not happening at all. Are we experiencing linguistic discrimination within our justice system? If so, to what extent are we experiencing it? And if so, how do we deal with it? In order to answer those questions, we need scientific research like the one I'm doing, which is entitled, What is a Language Attitude of the Jamaica Constabulary Force regarding the use of Jamaican Creole versus English in the statement-taking interview process, and how it is that this language attitude of the police officers will impact or can impact the statement-taking interview in and of itself. We owe it to ourselves to explore this very important issue as outlined in our Constitution. What should our police officers talk to us using, and how should they document the research? You have been very helpful thus far in liking, in sharing the videos, in subscribing to my YouTube channel, Share Julie's Story. I continue to implore you to visit the YouTube channel and subscribe to help in sharing Julie's story. I remain committed to completing this forensic linguistics research. Yes, I will receive a PhD at the end, but it is also a personal question. I want to know if we are shortchanging our people, if we are shortchanging ourselves. I want to know if there's a way for us to improve what we are doing well in, or to strengthen where we have weaknesses. You can help me in the process. I maintain that I am still registered at the University of the West Indies. I am still without a supervisor, having suffered unethically at the hands of the supervisors that the UEMONA have appointed to me, and now they have taken the position not to appoint any more supervisors to me. I am the one who is suffering. The supervisors were all investigated and found guilty of being unethical, and they either removed themselves or were removed from the process after having spent 6 years and countless amount of money. I am still not able to complete a research that should have been completed in 4 years between 2014 and 2018. You can help me. You have been helping me to raise awareness. Please continue to help me to raise awareness on this issue as I continue to work hard on my research to assist with our justice and our educational system. Visit the YouTube channel, share Julie's story, and to do just that, share Julie's story. Thank you so much.